Hello everyone, I'm Paul, and basically before we start this video off, basically what I want to do is thank you for tuning into this video, but hit another milestone, and that's 6,000 subscribers. So I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has subscribed to my channel, that pushed me over to the 6,000 mark at the time of the recording of this video. So guys, really appreciate that. So what we're going to do today is that we've got a pile of small diameter cedar logs. Basically we can call them cedar posts for the term that we're going to use here today. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to debark these logs. I'm going to remove some of the nubs that are sticking up a little higher than I want them. I'm going to cut them to length, and then I'm going to stack them up. So in order to do all this work, basically I have some tools that I like to use when I'm doing it. And I'm going to show you those tools right here. So one of the very first tools that I use, I always like to have a hatchet. That's going to be one of them. I have a draw knife. Now the draw knife, and then basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you basically when and how I use these tools. Just one note is that every species of log has a different type of bark. Some are thick, some are thin, some are rough, some are very coarse, some are flaky. You know, it's just a variety of things, whether it's a hardwood tree or a softwood tree, whether the log's been lying on the ground or if it was freshly cut. You're basically going to need a variety of tools to do the job. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the tools that I have. I've seen other people using other tools, a combination of one or two things. Maybe up to 5 different things to do the job. So the other things that I have here, I have a metal chisel, nice and wide here. So that's another one that I like to use. One of the other things that I like to use is the chainsaw with a log peeler on the end of it. Now this tool here, I basically use this a lot when I'm doing milling, and when I'm milling, basically with the log peeler, what I like to do is remove the bark. That's going to be where the path of the blade's going to follow. And what that allows me to do is to preserve my blades or have my bandsaw blades last a little bit longer. Also that I use on the, when I'm milling, I use the hatchet and the chisel here, but I don't use the draw knife at all. So we'll just put all the tools there, and I've got one more tool here. Actually, two more things here that I have. I have ratchet straps. Now the ratchet straps, basically if I feel that I need to tie down the log, if it's moving too much on me when I'm peeling it because the bark is too tight, I'll use the ratchet straps to hold the log into place. So we'll just put these here aside on the ground. And the last thing that I do is I use a set of log tongs. It's just a very small pair of log tongs. And that's just to grab the log off the pile. So very nice and easy. Just grab it like this. Just want to move that one out of the way. I want to load the next one up on the sawhorse. Nice and simple. No effort to lift that log up. So, and each one of these, even this log here is quite a bit bigger one, no effort to lift that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started to peel these logs then. So we'll just put my log tongs on the side. Now if you come down here on this one end here, you can see basically I was able to grab the bark. I can just basically grab the bark and start peeling it. What you want to do is try and get the longest strips as possible. The longer the strips are, the better it is. Now you're going to have nubs, like this little piece of sticking out here. There's another one here. This is where I like to use the hatchet, and I just chop them off a little bit. They're kind of hard to see maybe on the camera. Maybe if we come in a little bit closer, so we can just see. Oh, I hit my log tongs. That's not very good. We got another one here. So now I'm working on an angle to make it easier for you to see on the camera, so it's a little bit more difficult. Normally I'll get right in there. It's a lot easier. I probably wouldn't have hit my log tongs. Poor excuse, isn't it? So anyways, guys, now Other thing is, now sometimes the bark is very hard to get started, and if you have something nice and sharp like a hatchet or a chisel or the draw knife, you can get underneath the bark and you can just start to work it, and then you peel it off in nice long strips. Now these logs were all cut last year, last winter. So last winter, so that's about 6 months ago that these logs were 7 months ago these logs were cut. So now, you're probably wondering what I do with all these logs. So after I get them peeled, there's a few things that I use them for. I use them for fence posts. I use them for fence railings. I use them for garden stakes. I use them for tree supports. And I also use them for loading my sawmill logs on top of. What you see here in the pile there, that's just a very small pile. I have about 2 or 3, well, probably about 250 logs more to bring up here that I'm going to work on. Obviously, I don't need them all, so I'm going to sell whatever ones I don't use. So getting back to peeling the log, some of the logs will peel much easier than others, and that's why you have the variety of tools. So far, the only thing I'm using is the hatchet, and this is going by really fast. And I try to peel everything off as much as I can. And I'm going to start on this end here. See how I just work the hatchet underneath the bark? And you can see if you come in closer how I have these nubs here again. They're kind of nasty, so I just chop them off with the hatchet. Now, if they're great big nubs or big knots, what I do is I use the log peeler to remove them. The other thing you can do with the log peeler, you can sharpen the end of it if you want to make it pointed, so if you want to smash the post into the ground. So I'm going to peel more of this off. And you can see that it's going really quick. Very little effort. Now they don't all go this easy. Some of them are a lot harder, and actually some of them are way more easy than this one. The one thing it does is it does make a great big mess. A few more nubs here to remove. Now the reason I remove the nubs is quite a bit is because two things. One, when you're grabbing them, you run your hands on them. You don't want them stabbing in the hand. I am wearing gloves right now, but sometimes I grab them bare hand and I don't like to get stabbed by one of these nubs. The second reason is when you're stacking them up, it just makes it easier to stack them. Well, this one's just about done. Now you can see some of this stuff here is very thin. It's not too thick, but other bark, other trees will be a lot thicker than this one. Now obviously the big reason why I'm taking the bark off is because it will not allow or have so many bugs get underneath and have the log rot as quick. So it's much better to get the bark off. You can see there's no bugs. The cedar's pretty good for the bugs. The bugs don't really like the cedar as much as, say, pine or some other species like spruce or a hardwood. So you can let them sit around a little bit longer. Now, I wouldn't let Mind you, this has been sitting over a cold period where the bugs really haven't started. But if you had pine and you had letting them sit there through the summer so the bark loosens up and stuff, you're asking for more trouble. You're going to have a lot of insects in there boring holes. So as you can see, this one's all basically got all the bark. It's been debarked. A couple more nubs to remove. So the next thing I got to do is I'm going to cut it to length. So we'll just do that quick. Now the one thing about the with the log peeler on the chainsaw, you can see here that I have this is where the log peeler works, takes all the bark off or carves into the log or the tree. And I have all this section of chain here where I can do some cutting. So I'm going to start up the saw here. Let it warm up for a minute, and then we're going to cut it to length. Now while that saw is warming up, I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I don't know if you can see here, I've got a Echo helmet. I just bought it yesterday. I replaced my steel helmet. I was at the Echo dealer yesterday. What I tried to get for my for my chainsaw was a 12-inch bar. I had a viewer basically say to me that a shorter bar, or 12-inch bar, would work better. What I have right now is a 16-inch bar, and I started thinking about it, and I kind of agreed with the individual that left the comment. I believe it was T1000.android. I'll put his name up on the screen. I can't quite remember if I got that right or not. But anyways, I was thinking about it. If I did have the 12-inch bar, it would be much easier because it would be more compact. The one thing about using a log splitter, or sorry, a log peeler, they're very aggressive, and the head of it is fairly heavy. There's a lot of weight at the front, and the longer that the bar is, it's more of a counterweight where it's pulling you down. So it would definitely be a lot better to work with if it was much shorter. The problem here is that when I went to the dealer, they don't make a bar any shorter than 16 inches for this particular saw. They did call the manufacturer, and they talked to Oregon as well, and they don't make a bar for that saw. So what I'm going to end up doing is I've got a whole load of saws. I'm going to get another saw and try and find a 12-inch bar, and I will make a video in the future about the difference between using a long bar and a short bar using the log peeler. So what I'm going to do here is the saw is warmed up now. I'm going to cut the end. I'll cut this end here square. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to length now. Actually, I'm going to do it the other side. Okay, guys, come on in here closer. I just about made a mistake there. What I normally do is I cut the butt end, the bigger end here. I square it off, and then I measure it going the other way. I did it backwards here. Glad I caught myself. I think this is just a minor distraction from doing filming. So I'm going to cut this here. Now I'm just going to measure it to length. So you're probably wondering what length I cut that log into. So basically I'll cut them into 8 or 10 foot. That's plenty long. I don't go anything usually above 10 feet. So that one is, mind you, even though I called it 8 or 10 footer, I actually cut them 8 foot 6 inch and 10 foot and 6 inches.